Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Pennypacker Hill, and I'm the elementary school principal here at PK, and I am here with.
Hi, I'm Bryce Stevenson. I'm the elementary counselor here at PK.
All right. We are here to talk to you about data conferences, and every family during the months of October and November will have one of these data conferences with teachers. Some of you actually may end up having these conferences more than once. Some people will just have them once. Um, Bryce and I are here to talk to you about these conferences and what they're all about. Sometimes it can feel like there's a lot of educational jargon being thrown around, and as a parent, it can feel overwhelming or almost intimidating or just confusing around like what is happening in these conferences and what can I expect and how should I be as a parent? And so through this video, we want to talk to you all about that and just acknowledge that we're all going to be engaged in these conferences. We're going to talk you through every part of the conference. So we're going to start with the goals of these conferences. So one of the main goals is to review progress monitoring data for your kid. So starting the school year, one of the biggest things besides getting to know your child is also we think of it kind of like as a doctor, like we're taking your kid's temperature. So how's it going? How's it going in math? How's it going in reading? How's it going in writing? And so we want to review that progress monitoring data with you and partner with you. We want to provide you a clear picture of your students' academic standing. So how they are in relation to other kids at this time of the school year who are in their class and who are also taking the same assessments all across the state. We want to clearly talk about your child's strengths and also areas of improvement. And we want to make a plan to help your kids succeed. That's the main goal, to meet them where they're at and to push them to the next level.
So, an obvious question would be, when do these conferences happen? And if you've already had conferences at PK Young in previous years, the good news is it'll be pretty similar to the timing of conferences before. If you're new to PK, then obviously this is brand new information to you. At the beginning of each school year, we take progress monitoring data just to check where kids are at in a new grade level, but also after summer. That happens in September into October. And then, like Dr. Hill said, either in October or November, every family will have a conference with the teacher to review that data just to see where we're at the beginning of this current school year. After that, again, it's contingent based on that individual student's progress or what is happening in their particular situation. Because of that, parents or teachers can call for a conference at any time. It could be to discuss one specific assessment data point. It could be just to discuss everything. It's really, really broad. It's up to whatever parents and teachers want that conference to be about. And then, kind of as a caveat, if a student is not meeting their grade level benchmarks, we'll almost always call a conference to get teachers and parents together to be able to problem solve and try to figure out what's going on and then see what can be done going forward to help them get back onto grade level.
All right, so there's a lot of words here and a big old fancy chart. And so let's talk through this. So this chart on the right side, this is the progress monitoring assessment report. So the one we're looking at right there is second grade. Each grade level has one of these charts. This chart, if you are not an educator, can make absolutely no sense. There are so many words on here that are confusing, like dibbles and fluency and these types of words. You are not expected to know what those types of words mean. Actually, on the back of that form will explain what all of that means. Additionally, the teacher in the conference will go through all of that with you. So now if you look over on the left side, the overview of the progress monitoring data, this chart is to provide a clear overview of the data. So it's going to talk about the explanation of the assessment tools that are used. The teacher is going to talk you through each one of those tools and how the kid takes it, and if it's a quiz or if it's standardized or if it's formative, and even hearing some of those words, you might be like, I don't even know what those words mean. That's okay. Ask the teacher. They will explain all of that for you. And then this chart or this progress monitoring report also presents you with the data. So what's going to get filled in here is your kid's data in relation to what the actual on grade level score is. So parents will be shown the specific data points that reflect their child's academic performance in all of these subjects compared to the class and the grade level expectations. Sometimes they also might include charts or graphs. So I also think about it as like getting on a scale, right? It's just like, what should you be at? And I'm going to stand on the scale, and then here's where you're at, right? And so thinking about it in that way. When we're comparing to grade level standards, there are benchmarks. And so the teacher is going to discuss how the student is performing relative to those benchmarks. And that then helps you understand as a parent, is my child on track? Like they're right where they need to be at this time of year. Are they ahead? Maybe they're further along than where they need to be, or they might be behind. And that can bring up different emotions for many parents, right? People can, that's a vulnerable space to be in, to hear that your kid is maybe behind. And so all of that to say, lean into your teacher, lean into us. We can help you talk through all of that, because we know that it's tricky to hear this information about your kid. Additionally, the teacher will share data that shows how the student's performing has changed or improved over time. So right now you can see that it's organized on the chart with fall, winter, and spring. So throughout the school year, you can see your kid grow and you can see the progress that they're making, or maybe the lack of progress that they're making. So it helps us be able to determine what to do. Bryce, do you have any other things to say about that?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
So something else to expect is to talk about your child's strengths. We're really, really big on that because everybody has strengths that they can focus on and use to help improve other things. So teachers always like to share that student's strengths about what is going well so far throughout the year. And this can be a lot of different things. It can just be how they're performing academically in a specific subject. It can be how they're getting along socially with other peers at their same grade level. It could be how helpful they are in the classroom. It could be how respectful they are to adults or visitors to campus. It could be a wide variety of different things, but we firmly believe that every student is strong at something, and we always like to celebrate that whenever we're meeting both teachers and parents, but also when we're doing meetings at school here, we always mention student strengths. Now, there are going to be challenges for a lot of students too. And if you're having one of these conferences after the fall, that's probably what we're there to talk about. If there are any specific areas or specific skills that want to be addressed, they will be brought up there at that meeting with some of the data to help illustrate what that specific challenge is and kind of which areas of a subject it could be happening in, kind of as the starter for the conversation about the challenge. And then teacher will bring up anecdotal data, other things that they see just by working with the student about how that challenge presents itself in class.
Mhm.
Now, some students who are already receiving interventions will talk about those too, of just, hey, as a reminder, they're receiving this intervention for reading and this intervention for writing. Kind of as a way to check in around those, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of knowing what interventions are happening and what aren't happening. And then if there are any recommendations for improvement or changing kind of those interventions or support strategies, they would also bring them up then too. Once you've kind of established, hey, this is what we see as the challenge, this is where that challenge is happening, This is what we think it could be caused by. Here's the intervention we want to do to try to target that. This form on the right is something we call our tiered service letter. And so this will go home whenever a intervention level changes for your students. So if they receive a new tiered intervention, you would receive one of these letters describing what that intervention is. Um,
They also get it monthly too, even if
oh,
it doesn't.
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're already receiving a tiered intervention, you'll receive this letter monthly, just again to make sure we're all on the same page and that everyone understands which students are receiving specific services and which students are not. So it'll be indicated where kind of the challenge is up at the top, and then specific interventions will be detailed down below. And then another page will have a section for math interventions, what the focuses are, and then the dates for those. Now, in addition to these tiered service changes, we might also have other recommendations or other ideas around maybe it's simply adjusting where they sit in the classroom. Maybe it's they need to be closer to the board so they can see what's happening, or maybe they need to be closer to someone who's not going to distract them as much as a friend who's in the same class. It could also be ways to support learning at home, whether it's extra reading or whether it's a specific coaching strategy that you can help with your student to help them overcome something that's difficult to them. It could be a lot of different things. Our We're really just limited by our creativity and our imagination in terms of what sort of recommendations we can make for improvement. And we'll always talk about those at conferences too. We will never say your child is challenged at this or they're struggling with this and not bring any sort of solution or plan for improvement or propose intervention of something we can do about it.
Yeah. The only other thing else I want to add too is students who are above benchmark, right? They could also be getting interventions or enrichment. You'll hear it called enrichment many times if they're above benchmark, to problem solve for that too, right? We don't want kids who are way above benchmark not getting focused or not getting areas of improvement too. So you wouldn't necessarily get a tiered intervention letter for that case, but you will talk about that in the conference as well, strengths and support strategies to keep going, keep growing. Okay, some other things you can expect in these conferences are to talk about goal setting and ways for you as parents to get involved. So for the goal setting, the teachers will make maybe some short-term and long-term goals. If your student is in the conference too, even better, because then they can buy in and help even create, like, what's a short-term goal we could make for your fluency, for example. Right now you're at 60 words a minute. You know you need to be at 90 by the end of second grade. Could you think we could bump up 10 words by the end of this month, right? Doing it collaboratively, making these goals collaboratively is really, really huge. We don't want kids to feel like school is being done to them. We would love to do it with them and obviously with you too as families. And then making sure there's super measurable outcomes for that, right? It's one thing to make a goal, but then to not necessarily know if you've met your goal or not. So there's going to be a focus on having it be a measurable goal. So then we can check in and see, did we meet the goal? Did we not meet the goal? In terms of the parental involvement, we need your help. And we also know that you are busy, right? Families have a lot on their plates, and we totally understand that. But for some students, especially if they are not meeting benchmark, we're going to need to really partner with each other. And because what that means is the student's going to need more than just what we have at school. We're going to need some stuff happening at home too. So the teacher may suggest specific strategies that the parents can use at home. They may even give you the resources to do that, or suggest the resources. They might send them home with you. And overall, we want there to be a collaborative approach, right? So we don't want it to be that we're doing one thing at school and then at home it's a completely separate thing. We want to be able to check in with each other and see how it's going. And if you say it's really not going well at home, what you had them do, makes them really upset and it takes a long time and all we do is fight, right? Tell us that. We want to be able to create a home plan together because the kid is at the center of it and improving them. Any other things, Bryce, with that?
No, that was good.
Okay.
So questions and clarification we have on here. This doesn't happen at any specific point of the conference. We want this to just be something that's running throughout. If you ever have a question about anything that the teacher's talking about or anything that you're reading on the data sheet or anything that you have a question about at all, please ask it. We love to answer questions. Usually it's from 5, 6, 7, or 8 year olds, but we love to answer questions from anybody who wants to know something about something we're working on or something we're talking about. If you don't understand what a dibbles is measuring, we can talk about it. And I, once everyone has kind of awareness of the type of things we're talking about, there may be extra data, or may have, hey, I've noticed this also happening at home. And so ask any questions at any point. If you need a clarification, ask that too. If numbers aren't your thing, if that data sheet just scared you that we talked about, again, just please say that and we'll be able to talk it through and figure out what's going on. And
Mhm.
then sometimes at a conference, we'll talk about behavior and then also the social emotional growth of the students. That could involve even me or Jeremy Ogren, our behavior coach, being at the conference to support a student based on their individual needs. It could be talking about social emotional interventions like counseling or other things, depending again on that student's needs. So these conferences aren't merely academic; they could be across kind of the entire spectrum of their experience at school. Um, Teachers will usually provide behavioral data, especially if it's impacting their academic work. If they're getting in trouble a lot and they're out of class because of that, hey, that's going to have an impact on academic work. And so this would be a good time to talk about that when we're talking about the data. And then obviously we're developing full humans here. We're not just developing academic robots. And so we'll talk about social stuff. We'll talk about, are they getting along with friends on the playground? Are they able to regulate themselves while they're eating lunch? Are they able to take care of their materials when they're done with them in the classroom? And all the other things that happen when we're around people all day. Anything to add, Dr. Hill?
I think all that's good. I think the other words that you'll hear when Bryce is talking about this are habits of work. You'll hear the teachers talk about, like when Bryce is saying, we're developing full humans and not just academic robots. Um, there are these habits of work that help you then access the learning. And so the teachers all have very specific indicators of habits of work. And you'll see that indicated on report cards, and the teachers will talk with you about that too.
And yeah, we're happy to talk about those. Sometimes a challenge in a specific habit of work may be directly contributing to their struggle in math or reading or writing. And so it will
Sure.
definitely be a center point of that discussion.
Yeah. I hope what you're seeing through all of this too is that although each conference is structured in similar ways, it's all personalized to your kid. We're not just pushing you through some like machine, right? It's all to say, let's talk really specifically about Bryce and how he did on all of these measures, how he did on those measures, and specifically what are his strengths and a plan for him. So, because we want it to be personalized for each kid. So, to end, there's typically some next steps that we'll talk about in the conference if there needs to be a follow-up meeting. So if the teacher needs to schedule a follow-up meeting to review progress, or if you as the parent are going to be the one to reach back out to us, we'll usually kind of decide where's the ball, which court is it in, and many times it's in both of our courts. But if we need to have a follow-up meeting and when, and then specifically if the student is not meeting their learning goals or if the data is concerning in certain spaces, the teacher may suggest talking about revisiting the intervention strategies or making adjustments at certain times, which then would put us right back potentially into another one of these meetings. It really is a cyclical process, and we want it to be. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. This continuous improvement process together with the family and the kid to be able to help your student be the very best that they can be. Any other things with that, Bryce?
Nothing on next steps. I think just overall, this is all data that we've been collecting for a while and we've been talking about internally while we're in our meetings. And I'm really excited that we're going to be able to share a lot more of it with families just so that you can understand what's happening every day at school. Um, and then to both to identify challenges and then we can really target those, try to overcome them, but also to celebrate success. Watching a student who scored a level 1 on the fast in the fall and then come up and score a level 4 or 5 in the spring is a great feeling. And it's something that deserves to be celebrated both for you as the family, but also for that student. That's a big accomplishment. And it's something that we should always try to remember as a way to inspire more effort and kind of working hard in the future.
Yeah, success brings more success for sure. So thank you for joining us on this video today and happy conferring with teachers over the next few months. And please reach out to any of us, me, Bryce, Jeremy, your learning community leader, your teachers. If you have any specific questions, we're always happy to help.